So today I'm gonna talk to you about why you should be fasting more instead of doing caloric deficits. I don't mean you shouldn't be doing caloric deficits, but maybe for you fasting is gonna be more important and impact more your health, your weight loss. It's gonna drop your levels of glucose and insulin more than doing caloric deficit only. So it's known that if you fast mainly at night, you're gonna surely drop your insulin levels. And that happens because at night you get a lot more insulin resistance than during the day. Um, because at night your cortisol levels are very low, so your insulin levels should also be low. And when you eat at night, and the closer you eat to the time that you go to sleep, the worse it is your insulin resistance. The worse you generate insulin resistance because your glucose is going to spike and you're going to need more insulin than you would need during the day to deal with that same amount of glucose if you had eaten it during the day. So that happens because cortisol levels are low at night, or they should be. Okay, so if you eat at night, your insulin is going to get higher and much higher than it gets usually during the day, and your cortisol levels are going to get higher too because they follow your insulin levels. If your insulin levels get high, your cortisol levels also get high. And if your cortisol levels get high at night, you're gonna have a worse quality of sleep. You're probably not gonna reach that deep sleep that makes you rest and recover. And you're probably gonna be waking up more at night. Who hasn't eaten that big meal at night with meat or maybe some dessert and then has gone to bed and has felt like very bad during the night, like a very full stomach, and maybe you have been waking up at that night. You know how it feels, right? It doesn't really feel good to have a huge meal during nighttime. And the worse it is when it gets closer to your sleeping hours. So that is mainly why you should be doing night fasts. But when should you begin? You should begin doing it at least 2 hours before going to bed, before your sleep time. But if you can take it and do it like more hours distant from your sleeping time, it's gonna be better. I mean, you gotta get it. You gotta have in mind that daytime is the more adequate period for you to eat and have meals. And nighttime wasn't made for that. So daytime is when you struggle, daytime is when you eat, and nighttime is when you rest. And resting also means not eating, not putting your body to work towards digesting and processing food. You know, leave your body alone, give your body a rest during nighttime because it is its time to rest. It's its time to recover and get rid of all the trash, of all the toxins that have been produced from digestion and food processing during daytime. So when you wake up, maybe you should wait some time for you to eat too. I mean, you're probably not gonna do it like cold turkey. Maybe you're used to waking up and eating, start eating. You're having your first meal since you wake up. You take your coffee, you take your supplements, you have your breakfast, as soon as you wake up, and then you only stop eating like at nighttime at 9 p.m. or 10 p.m., and then you brush your teeth and take a shower and go to bed. So what should you be doing? The more you shorten your period, your eating period, the better. Okay, so you're gonna be fasting during a longer period of time, but you don't need to do it all of a sudden. The first thing you need to do is to start distancing your last meal from your sleeping time. So make it 2 hours before sleeping time. If you go to bed at 10 p.m., have your last meal at 8 p.m. Okay, and remember, the more quantity of food you put inside, and the heavier this food is. I mean, meat and fatty foods or very high carbs food, especially simple carbohydrates, the harder it's gonna be on your stomach to digest it, and the heavier it might feel. So maybe you have this very high quantity meal at 8 p.m., but you can still feel it in your stomach at 10 p.m., and that's not going to be good at all. So make your last meal a smaller meal and a lighter meal, okay? So maybe you can take some yogurt, some eggs, some salad, some extra virgin olive oil, some fruit, I don't know, okay? Customizing your diet is another job, and I'm not gonna focus on that right now. I'm only focusing on fasting and why should you shorten your period of eating, okay? And why is that beneficial for you if you want to live longer, if you want to feel better, if you want to be healthier, if you want to have lower levels of glucose and insulin, if you want to lower your diabetes risk, if you want to lower your cardiovascular risk, and if you want to lose weight and look more shredded. Okay, so start shortening your eating period by distancing your last meal from your sleeping time. And then from this, you can always shorten it up a little bit more. So if you start eating your last meal at 8 p.m. this week, next week you can eat your last meal at 7 p.m. And then next week you can eat your last meal at 6 p.m. And that's already a very good eating span. You know, if you consider that you're going to begin eating like at 7 o'clock, if you're eating until 6 p.m., you're gonna have like 11 hours of eating time. So it's already very good. The other 13 hours, you're gonna fast. It's not much, okay? And you can do much more than this. And the more you fast, the more time you're fasting. I mean, in 24 hours, the better for you, you know? I mean, you don't need to do this every day, but on a weekly basis, maybe like 4-5 times a week, and on weekends you act a little more relaxed, you know. So from this, having an 11-hour eating span, you can evolve, and you can shorten it a little more if you want to. So maybe you can wake up and fast a little bit, and you start eating at like 10 a.m. and then you fast until 6 p.m. and that's gonna be like an 8-hour eating span. So during this 8 hours, you're gonna have a lot of food to eat, you know. Maybe you've got like 2,000 calories or 3,000 or 4,000 if you're a big guy, you know, and you work out a lot, and maybe you're even thinking about putting on some muscle. So you can eat plenty of calories during this 8-hour time. And what you're gonna notice is that fasting is actually gonna make you feel less hunger. You're gonna get used to it. Okay, so if you start doing it cold turkey, like if you get a very radical change, I mean, maybe you're used to eating all day long and all night long until the time that you sleep, and then all of a sudden you cut it for an 8 hour eating span, you're gonna feel a lot of hunger. But if you do this progressively, like gradually, you're gonna get used to it, and it's gonna get very easy for you to shorten this eating span. I've just seen reels and Instagram reels from Brian Johnson, and he was saying that his last meal is at 11 a.m. That's crazy, right? He said he just eats 3 meals a day, so I wonder when he begins, and he said he stops at 11 a.m. So it's a very short eating span. I mean, you don't really have to do this, okay? So if you reach like 14 hours fasting or 16 hours fasting, maybe 18 hours fasting, it's already pretty good, okay? And you can also vary these fasting periods and eating spans during the week. Maybe one day you've got a bigger eating span, and the other day you shorten it, and then the other you shorten it a little more, and then on weekends you increase your eating span. You can pretty much play with this eating spans and fasting spans that you've got. All right, so if you like this video, drop a comment below and your like below, and that's it. Ready for the next one. See you.